Welcome back to my channel. We're about halfway through Ramadan and I'm sure all of us are trying to balance our social gatherings and then trying to be in ibadat all the time and also trying to get enough sleep so that we can function the next day. So I thought I'd take a couple minutes right now to give you guys some tips on how to improve your sleep and be more productive during the month of Ramadan. Before I share these tips, I think it's important to understand sleep a little bit more. First, there is the circadian rhythm, which is basically a biological internal clock that tells us when to wake up and when to go to sleep. And that can be affected by changes in our lifestyle, particularly when we're going to bed a little bit later and also waking up earlier, for example, with sari. Changes to this biological clock of ours can result in a lot of uncomfortable things such as migraines and headaches, as well as mood swings. On top of that, when we're not getting enough sleep, I'm sure all of us have noticed that we are not as alert and we can't focus as well during our workday or school day. On top of that, when you're not getting adequate amount of sleep, you are more prone to weight gain because of the imbalance of hormones and your mind being a little bit more foggy and just craving certain types of foods that aren't so good for you. So for these reasons and many more, it's really important to focus on sleep, especially during the month of Ramadan, so that we're not as tired at work or school and we're able to get and reach our goals, whatever we have for Ramadan. The first thing that's usually recommended is to try to make sure you get good quality sleep by sleeping in minimum blocks of 4 hours. Now, you could probably do that following Isha, but it's hard to do that after Sari because you do have to usually be up after like an hour or so for work or for school. But I would definitely suggest that if you don't have these responsibilities, that you try to get those 4 hours after Sari as well. If you're not able to, that leads me to my second tip, which is to try to get a power nap in when you can. So maybe during your lunch break, because you're not eating anyway, you might as well try to get a bit of a quick nap in if you can. And also after work, if you have some time, try to squeeze in another nap, because if you can do that, it'll help balance the tiredness that I'm sure everyone feels after work. On top of that, when you're fasting, to prevent oversleeping, you can set a timer for about 20-30 minutes so that you don't sleep too much and then feel groggy because you didn't get the full rest. You can also try to regulate your sleep pattern. So ideally, if this was before Ramadan, we would try to slowly adapt to waking up earlier and having to stay up a little bit later for Tarawih, etc., by trying to gradually wake up a little bit earlier every single day. But we're already in the thick of it, so instead what I suggest is you should try to scale back on the activities that take a lot of time and end up cutting in your day, so that you don't have to be running last minute to pray or to make up extra ibadat that you want to do, whether it's reading Quran or listening to scholars or praying more, whatever it may be. This will mean that you'll be able to unwind a lot faster towards the end of the day and not have to compromise as much on your sleep. Obviously, I know that's a little bit difficult when you're trying to go to all these dawats and stuff. Next thing is to try to focus a little bit on what you're actually eating and drinking during Ramadan and be more intentional about it. I know that's extremely difficult because especially if you're South Asian or Desi, we love to eat, even though that's kind of like missing the point with what we do in Ramadan, which is like have all the fast food or deep fried food possible. But consider trying to scale it back a little bit, and also consider trying to look for alternative or healthier ways to eating those same things. So for example, instead of having samosas that are deep fried, consider, I know it sounds sacrilegious, but consider air frying it or putting it in a toaster oven. It's not the same thing, but it's actually pretty close and pretty tasty, and it's much healthier and doesn't make you feel as bad after you're done eating it. I would encourage you to try to look up recipes that are a little bit healthier. That's definitely what I did this year, and I do kind of miss having those really unhealthy foods, but I do notice a huge difference when it comes to how I feel after iftar. I don't feel bloated. I don't feel like sluggish at all. And it does make a huge difference. You're more alert. And that makes it possible for you to be able to pray or do whatever it is that you want to do after iftar. When it comes to drinks, caffeine in general, you should try to avoid it before going to bed at least a couple hours. But I know that that's a really hard thing to do, especially since a lot of people are very dependent on caffeine. I would suggest trying to consider alternative forms of caffeine or decaf, or having a little bit less or something that's less strong than what you're used to slowly try to wean down a bit if you haven't already weaned off the caffeine prior to Ramadan. This will make it a lot easier for you to get to bed sooner at a timely manner and be ready for Sari and the following day. I know it seems like, yeah, I'm never gonna do that, but I think it's worth giving it a chance and trying to figure out alternatives so that you do have more energy, because you usually will because you're getting enough sleep. The last thing is trying to focus on your environment where you go to bed. Try to make it a cozy, comforting environment for yourself, and also try to avoid spending too much time in front of a screen, especially when you're in bed. Even try to avoid your phone, etc. I know everyone says that, but if you think about it, you can get away with just listening to a lot of things instead of having to watch everything, which means that you're not getting that blue light or you're not getting that stimulation from a computer screen. You can always listen to podcasts, listen to audiobooks, you can watch YouTube videos by just listening to them and get a lot of benefit without having to compromise on whatever it is that you want to watch. Ideally, obviously, we're looking at more Islamic content. So those are my tips on how to get better sleep during Ramadan and be more productive. I hope it helps. If you found this video helpful, definitely check out my other videos. You can see I have videos on Ramadan that I posted already. If you are looking for tips on how to be more productive or what to focus on during Ramadan, definitely leave a like or a comment down below and let me know what you're doing to improve your productivity during Ramadan, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video.